Hello, everybody. I just wanted to say we'll get started in just a couple of minutes. Hopefully, we'll be right on time, and we'll end early if anything. But yeah, sit tight. Everybody should be muted. Speakers, we will be unmuting you as we go. There will not be any live questions from the floor today. We have previously requested questions from LD4 PCs, and we will only be posing 2 questions to the chair candidates and no questions to the rest of the candidates. Candidates will have, chair candidates will have 5 minutes of free-form response or addressing the group. And then we will ask them each those 2 questions with 45-second responses for each, and then move on to the next candidate and do the same structure of free form and the 2 questions for that candidate. All the other candidates will have 3 minutes of free form and no questions. We have received RSVPs from all candidates except for 3 MAL candidates. So hopefully everybody who has RSVP will be able to join us. Carl, have you been able to see whether Stephen is on already? Stephen Daniels?
Just joined.
Okay. Yes, I see. Okay, good. Okay, so it's 7 o'clock. I think we should go ahead and start on time. I've gone over the basics, and I'll go over them again quickly, see if I left anything out. Candidates, there are some basics you should know. We'll need to be able to identify you. So if you have a funky sign-in name and it's not your candidate name, we may not be able to recognize you when the time comes. So you may want to address that if that happens to be the case. The host will either Carl or I will unmute you, or actually we will ask you to unmute. You have to accept it, and then you will be able to speak. Again, chairs will have 5 minutes, and then we will address each chair candidates with 2 questions. They will be the same questions for all the candidates, but we'll ask them in succession, and you will have 45 seconds to respond to those. Carl will be keeping time. At the end of each person's time frame, whether that's the 5-minute time frame or the 45 seconds or the 3 minutes for other candidates, Carl will just mute that candidate. So then we will move on to the next question or the next candidate. All right, so I think, well, I guess I'll say a couple other things, just generally speaking. Again, we won't take any live questions. The chat is available. If you want to engage the chat, please be respectful. If we find for some reason that somebody is what we consider disrespectful or out of line or disruptive, we do have the ability to remove somebody from the meeting. We prefer not to do that. Please exercise your First Amendment, but be respectful. All right, so without further ado, if we can identify Stephen and ask him to unmute. Stephen jumps around. There we go. I'm asking you to unmute. Stephen, can you address us?
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
All right. So I've got five or 6 minutes. How long we got?
5 minutes, and then 2 45-second responses to 2 questions.
Okay, perfect. Well, I appreciate it, LD4, obviously being my home LD. Sorry, we haven't been able to meet as much in person, but I look forward to speaking with you, and I definitely appreciate how gracious you all were to elect me as the state committeeman so we could be talking today. We've got an opportunity in the state to make a change. We've got to shake things up. I think everyone realizes that. Everyone who has heard me speak, and it's probably most of you, understand that the #1 issue that we're working on is election integrity. If we don't have free and fair elections in the state, then what's the point? You know, why do we even show up? I mean, we've seen the last 2-3 elections clearly being given predetermined results, and they're slowly rolling us into a blue state. They've given away our state seats at this point, and now they're going to likely flip our legislature after 2024. So one day, one vote on paper, in person, with ID, no machines, no mail-in ballots, precinct level polling, and precinct tabulation. It's that simple. That was HB 2289. That's the legislation that I helped co-author and that Rep. John Fillmore sponsored. We've got to get that done. Outside of that, where are we at? You know, we can talk about the definition of insanity, and that's, you know, doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. That's kind of what it feels like every 2 years, what they force feed down our throats, right? It's, hey, you guys need to go knock more doors. You need to work harder. You need to recruit more. You need to donate more. And then you need to vote harder, right? Well, what happens when they feed us these predetermined results? Then they start to gaslight us. They being the leadership, they start to gaslight us and tell us, well, you guys didn't work hard enough. You didn't knock enough doors. You didn't recruit enough. You didn't donate enough, and you didn't vote hard enough. So we got to get off this establishment crazy train that we've been on for so many years. And I've experienced the frustration just as much as you as an activist. You know, I'm an activist first, and I really feel like we need an activist general to lead this charge over these next 2 years. You've got these politicians and these professionals that are also running for this position, but they really don't have that background of success as an activist. And to lead other activists, you have to be an activist yourself. We're doing this to give the power back to the people. I've been just as disenfranchised and as frustrated as you guys, and that's why so many people have left the Republican Party. You see the registrations year over year just dropping and leaving the party. I think we're up 30% year over year from November, just in Maricopa County alone. Close to 1,600 people left the Republican Party in November, year over year. That's insane. So in order to actually outpace that, that means we'd have to recruit 1,601 just to keep pace. That's just in Maricopa County. You know, we talk about division and how we're going to unify the party. Well, to me, it's to unify around one central issue, which is to secure our elections. Not everybody may believe that the elections are always rigged, but when I ask people to raise their hand in a room, they always say, you know, I say, hey, raise your hand if you 100% believe our elections are real. Nobody raises their hand. That is the one centralized issue. That's the one centralized issue that we can all agree upon. Even when I interview with these leftist organizations like Washington Post or Politico, the New Times, the New York Times, Vice News even, you know, Vice News is one of the most divisive leftist organizations out there. But even their reporter agreed with me that they want their vote to count, and they're not always sure that it does. So I think being able to unify around that central message of let's restore confidence in our elections. That's the one unifying issue that we can all agree upon. And I think what you'll find is a lot of these independents or party not declareds that have left the Republican Party, they've left because they're so disenfranchised by the establishment leadership who has not fought for them, who has not given them a voice. That's what they want. That's what I want. I know that's what you guys want. You just want someone there that you know is fighting for you and that's going to listen and take your input and then implement it. And that's what we do. That's what we've done for the last number of years. We've ran many different initiatives. You can go to electstevedaniels.com, find out more about me. Again, this isn't about me. We're doing this to give power back to the people, but you want to see my track record and my history. We've done a lot. So I really appreciate the time, everyone. I'd like to take, as many questions as possible during this time. This is an interview process. Please conduct it as such. If you want to email me, you can email me directly at steve@electstevedaniels.com. And again, that's steve@electstevedaniels.com. Please ask me the hardest questions you can. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so I just posted the questions. I'll read them, but I posted them in the chat if anybody wants to refer back to them. First one, Steve, is what are the top 2 specific things AZGOP members, not you as chair, but the members of the party you would lead, can do between next week after the vote for chair and the 2024 primaries to make Arizona elections more secure?
It's a good question. So what I would say is you can, as an activist, you can show up. And I think that's what a lot of us do already. We show up, but we need somebody leading the charge to let people know when and where to show up. So whether it's at the Board of Supervisors meetings to implore them to get rid of the machines, down in Cochise County, we're hearing that they are potentially going to be voting to remove the machines. We need an army of people to show up wherever it is, whichever county is looking to do that. We need them to show up down at your legislature, talk to your legislators. We need to put pressure on our legislature to pass one day, one vote, put it on Katie Hobbs' desk every week, make her veto it, turn her into the most unpopular governor in this country. The people's voices count. The consent of the governed, you revoke your consent.
Okay, I think that was the 45 seconds. Thank you. It took me by surprise there. All right, second question, Steve, and Carl, be ready to re-ask him to unmute, and Steve, you'll have to unmute yourself again. How can the AZGOP best engage and persuade independents to vote Republican in 2024?
So as I'd already alluded to, the independents, the people who are disenfranchised, they left the party for a reason. We believe that the independents swing heavily conservative. The people I talk to, when they go out and knock doors, they're telling us the independents that they talk to are more conservative. So the independents will be re-engaged when they have me in the chair position, because they're going to see they have a fighter, somebody that they can get behind, somebody that's going to lead them into victory. That's the bottom line. You've got to provide confidence to these people to come back. They will not have that confidence in anyone else running for this position, because no one else has the intestinal fortitude to do what it will take to secure this state, to secure our vote. I told you, on my flyers, I said, I'm going to provide election integrity for the state, or we're going to die trying. It literally comes down to this. You need a wartime.
Okay, thanks again. Thank you, Stephen. And next up, we have Jeff DeWitt. Jeff, we're looking for you on the list here, and we will. Excellent, you got it.
I am here.
All right, Jeff, 5 minutes, free form, whatever you'd like to say, and then the two questions.
All right, sounds great. Thank you. Well, everybody, my name is Jeff DeWitt. I had the honor and the privilege to be elected as your state treasurer back in 2014. And since that time, I got picked up to be the COO and CFO of the Trump campaign in 2016. And with less than one half the money and 1/8 of the staff, we obviously beat the Hillary Clinton machine, or some people call it the Hillary Clinton murder machine. But I'm still here. I went on to serve with the Trump administration in DC as the CFO of NASA. In 2020, the president asked me to come back to the campaign as the COO again. I built and oversaw the largest ground game effort in the history of worldwide politics. If you Google the term Trump million doors a week, you'll see by August of 2020, we were knocking on over 1 million doors a week. Of the two campaigns I was the COO of, we raised over $1 billion digitally. I want to bring everything that I've learned doing that at a big level and winning elections here to Arizona. So I'm trying to get everyone, we know the presidential race is coming. It's going to be vastly important. And we have the chance to take Kyrsten Sinema's Senate seat, since she's done what she's done. And Ruben Gallego is very beatable. But I really try to get people to focus also on the numbers 31, 29, and 16, 14. We have an advantage in our state house right now of only 2 seats, 31, 29 advantage. And we have only 2 seats in the state Senate, 16, 14. We've had Republican majorities for decades, and we've instituted so many good changes, including all of the, we're a world leader right now in school choice. And that is the Democrats' #1 target to knock off. So Steve Gallego, if you're familiar with him, he's on the Maricopa County Board of Supervisors. The same day that we're electing on the 28th, coming up on Saturday, the same day we're electing our state chair, the Democrats somewhere off behind the trash heap are going to be electing their state chair. And the most likely candidate is Steve Gallego. He has already been everywhere saying that, and on Bram Resnick's show, everywhere else, saying his #1 goal is to flip the legislature blue and give Katie Hobbs the majority so her agenda can get through. And I hope that scares the heck out of all of you. This wasn't, something I intended to do in my life, was to do this. I'm very comfortable in my life, in a great career that I'm stepping away from for 2 years if I get elected, because we need to win this election right now. It is so consequential right now to hold off the Dems. I know how to win elections. I'm the only one in the race that's ever won an election. I've won many elections. I've set records with votes. I know how to do this. I know how to get the independents. And there's so much you learn doing what I've done that's up here. And I just want to bring this to the state for 2 years, that just one term, and the changes I can bring to our state, from the drastic overhauls to our ground game to raising money, and doing the things that we need to do to win elections. On election integrity, I'm the only one that's actually done consequential work in this race on election integrity. I led the 2020 effort with the Trump legal team here in Arizona. I oversaw 35 attorneys, from ballot curing to everything else we did, filing all the motions, lawsuits. I know exactly what we can and cannot do to produce results with election integrity, and I will lead that fight from day one. We will be the fighters for election integrity. But on top of that, we've got to raise money, get out the vote, and win elections. If you look at one of the greatest things we could do for our state right now, is if we go back to Republican supermajorities, which we did once have. That's 9 seats in the House. It's 4 seats in the Senate. It is a doable thing. If we raise money the right way and get out the vote the right way, in addition to securing our elections, we can get supermajorities and blow up Hobbs' veto pen if we do that. So again, I'm really trying to get the point across. You are hiring for this job. This is a real job, overseeing a lot of people. And I'm the only one with the experience of running a war room, of getting out the vote, doing these things. And I'm asking for your vote. So for the next 2 years, we can get a majority back and expand the lead we have. So again, I'm hoping I can get your vote on this Saturday and open it up to the questions that you have. Again, Jeff DeWitt. Oh, by the way, website is www.jeffdewitt.com. You can see more. I encourage you to go there. But just remember that DeWitt only has one T, just like the word treasurer has one T and technology has one T, transparency has one T. And the joke I used to crack when I was running for treasurer is you can think about how much money that's going to save Arizona, not putting 2 T's. But go there. And outside of that, I love your questions.
Very good. Thank you. All right. So same question as before. I'll reread it just to refresh everybody's mind. What are the top 2 specific things AZGOP members, not you as the chair, but the members of the party you would lead, can do between next week after the vote for chair and the 2024 primaries to make Arizona elections more secure?
So obviously, one of the first things I will do, and I will invite everyone down, is we will form right away an election integrity task force. We'll have legal representatives there, and I want as much participation as we can. Obviously, the other thing we can do, really one of the top things we can do, is elect a new board of supervisors. So, the county candidates said they were going to lead a recall effort. That's going to need manpower, as well as other counties as well. So there's going to be a lot that members can do. I think I'm going to get cut off here shortly. There's a lot that our members can do on that effort.
Very good. And how can the AZGOP best engage and persuade independents to vote Republican in 2024?
That goes down to the candidates we put on the ballot. Independents are a different breed. We have 1.434 million registered Republicans in Arizona, 1.404 independents, PNDs. For all intents and purposes, when we data target independents, a lot of them are resume voters. I want to get good candidates on the ballot. Independents love business backgrounds. A lot of independents voted for Donald Trump because of the business background. So candidate selection, business backgrounds, how we promote the candidates, data targeting. There's so many things I know how to do to get the independents to turn out, and we will.
Very good. Thank you very much, Jeff.
Thank you, everybody.
All right. Dan Farley is up next. Just asked him to unmute. Dan, you need to unmute. Are you here?
Yes, thank you. Should I jump into my few minutes?
Yes, please.
Okay, great. You're doing a great job, by the way. So I am your true grassroots conservative candidate. For the last 14 years, I've proven it as a Tea Party guy since 2009. I have always self-funded. I have not taken 6 figures in a year like last year. In fact, over the last 3 years, I've not only given up a 6-figure income, but I've sold my own assets in order to grow the party with PCs. In 2021, I personally brought in about 500 to 600 PCs. And I worked very hard to try and motivate other individuals, other legislative districts and other counties, so we could double our precinct committeemen. On my own personal precinct, we're our own legislative district. LD4 is leading all of the other legislative districts in the county. In my own precinct, we had a 50% oversubscription for precinct committeemen, and I helped lead a PC slate to win in that respect. That resulted in us winning our school board races handily over the Dems, and we split on the state legislature, which is more than what I can say for the other two candidates from LD4 running for AZGOP chair, which both lost to Democrats. I have attended all of our legislative district 4 meetings in 2002. That is not what the other candidates from LD4 can say. I've used my Tea Party platform. Okay, I've spent thousands of hours building tools to help advance conservative activism, and have generously provided those tools at no charge to fellow selfless collaborative patriots and the Republican Party, and help them to become more productive and knowledgeable for the cause to beat Democrats, opening my office and paying for my office for other people to be trained there. On election integrity, you can see in our own LD4, I push team concepts, school board, city council, state legislature, federal activism, and poll worker / election integrity. The reason the team concept is better than HB 2289, well, to start with, HB 2289 is an omnibus. Omnibus is almost never passed the state legislature. Currently, that only has about 25 to 30% support within the state legislature. About 50% of the Republicans support that. The team concept allows us to have oversight from a state legislature perspective to push on bills that we want and kill bills that we don't want. The federal activism team gives us an opportunity to network with other people across the nation and battleground congressional districts, and to put pressure on our federal government, because that federal form is killing us on election integrity. We got millions of people coming through the border, and we got to get that federal form under control, because all you have to do is check a box and say that you're an American citizen in order to get your ability to vote on federal elections in the state, and even more elections outside of the state. Furthermore, poll workers and election integrity, those are oversights that we can work directly with the county on. So my approach with the team concept is a 3-pronged approach to election integrity, which is superior to pushing for a bill that won't pass. Furthermore, I have street cred for election integrity. I opened the Election Integrity Summit in March of 2022. I closed the Election Integrity Summit in March of 2022. I also have been working with Tea Party Patriots since 2017, when I became in leadership on that issue. And I was interviewed by the Epoch Times on that issue in November 2020 that you can look up. Furthermore, all those PCs that we brought in, we advanced limiting and eventually eliminating proxies in our own legislative district. So our party is on a stronger footing to fight for election integrity. I am as strong of a candidate, if not stronger a candidate, for election integrity as anybody else that speaks on that topic. Let's see, merit-based system holds us to performers versus underperformers, and team concepts helps us to develop secession plans for our candidates organically through our LDs. That's what I stand for. That's what I'll deliver if I'm elected AZGOP chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Okay, same questions as before. I'll reread them. What are the top 2 specific things AZGOP members, not you as chair, but the members of the party you would lead, can do between next week after the vote for chair and the 2024 primaries to make Arizona elections more secure?
Well, as I touched on with those 3 teams, I would very much like those teams to be developed, try to get the LDs and the counties more united with goals that are attainable goals for our state legislature. Let's see what bills, there's 1,700 bills that drop every session. Let's see which ones are within reach to get passed. Let's try and advance what we can and kill rank chase voting or whatever else they're trying to put in. And then the other thing that I would do and then with the federal activism team, let's see what we can do to try and get a handle on our federal voter registration forms, so we can stop the bleeding of the millions of illegals that are coming in that are registering to vote. Those would be the first 2 things I'd want to focus on.
Thank you. How can the AZGOP best engage and persuade independents to vote Republican in 2024?
Well, if you look at the statistics, which it doesn't sound like Steve Daniels has, in LD4, we match the Democrats 70% to 70% on our percentage of turnout. And we have more voter registrations than the Democrats in LD4, which means that those independents don't necessarily lean right as he thinks that they do. We have to build relationships with them. One of the ways that we're doing that will, for example, will be tomorrow. We'll have probably about 100 to 120 people at our LD4 social event. I encourage LD4 social events and county social events, whether that includes mass texting to try and reach them or other approaches, as well as our own PCs, banding together, maybe 3 or 4 of them, getting on a meetup app and then engaging in events like hiking or.
All right, I think that's 45 seconds. Thank you, Dan. Do you have Vera lined up for us, Carl?
I don't. Hang on. I was busy
That's
muting
okay. Let
Dan.
me scroll down, see if I can get to the V's. There we go. I got her.
I got
Vera,
it, all right.
you need to allow yourself to speak. And are you with us?
Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I can't hear anything you're saying. Are you asking me a question?
We're giving you the 5 minutes of free form speaking, and then we will ask you questions. Go ahead.
I can't hear anything.
5 minutes for you.
Hold on.
Video off.
Just let me see what is going on here. Can you actually hear me and see me?
We can hear you. No seeing.
Okay. Okay, so you just a 5-minute intro?
Yes.
Yes. Hi, Vera Gibran. I'm running for the chairmanship of the AZGOP. I'm talking to my LD, so I believe that most of you already know my story. You know why I got into politics, due to the loss of my birth home of Lebanon, and waking up, of course, to the realization in late December to the fact that my children were not going to inherit the same liberties that I was granted as an immigrant, which propelled me to get into politics and see where I could be effective and where I could use my skill set. I ran for the state house. I did not move on to the general election. And after that, after the primaries, I was asked by people in our community to go on to run for the chairmanship because they believed that I possessed the skill set to bring our party together and to rebuild and lead. And so I did my due diligence, and I believe that after looking at it, examining it closely, I believe that my skill set is suitable to revamping our party and to leading it. We have a lot of the chair during this term is going to have many, many responsibilities beyond just fundraising and finding the right people to run and getting them elected. We don't have the luxury get off that. We don't have the luxury of only doing one thing, or of doing only a couple of things. And we don't have the luxury of moving in a linear fashion of, having a to-do list and checking off step by step what we've done. This is a situation where we have to move multiple initiatives all at once. We have to be mindful of the fact that we still have to win the vote of the independents and what we're going to do that. We still have the challenge of expanding our voter base. We have the challenge of cleaning up and correcting our image so that voter base can be expanded naturally. And first and foremost, obviously, we have a problem with our elections. We have a problem with the fraud. We have a problem with the corruption that's within our own party. I mean, right down to the fact that the AZGOP bylaws permit the chairman to pretty much, not entirely, but pretty much run a dictatorship. Those are all things that have to be addressed in order for us to kind of straighten out the Titanic, because that's what this problem is. It's a Titanic. No one person, I don't care how talented and brilliant you are, besides from Jesus himself, is going to be able to straighten all of this out in 1 2-year term. Anybody that says that they're going to is speaking from a tremendous amount of hubris. However, multiple things can be driven at one time to fix multiple things at one time. I believe that I am equipped to do that due to my business background and building companies, creating, basically taking ink and paper, taking a business plan and breathing life into it and creating an entity that's functioning and prosperous. So I am looking to be your leader. I'm asking for your vote. And since November, I have attended 40 engagements. I have crossed the state, and always since day one, I have been available and accessible to we the people. You can go to my website at votevera.com and you can schedule a 30-minute Calendly where you can have a 30-minute interview with me, vet me, interview me, however you want to refer to it. I have a 360-degree business plan that's addressing every aspect of what needs to be done. And it's, too much to get into a 5-minute intro. So if you call me and set up an appointment, I'm happy to share my vision with you.
Thank you. Vera, can you hear me well enough to hear the questions, or have you heard the questions before?
I think Noelle just handed me some questions that you want me to answer, right?
Yeah, I texted them to Noelle as well. I figured if you were having a hard time hearing us, yes.
Yeah, I can't really hear all that well. Let me just look at them real quick.
Okay.
Okay, so the question is regarding what can we do between, next week and 2024 to make our Arizona elections more secure. So, Morgan, if I were granted the privilege of leading our party starting on the 29th, it will be my 5th month on the job. Even though other people have the perspective that if they get it, then they'll do it. That's not how I operate. I'm completely prepared. My transition team and my advisors will have already been identified. They've already agreed to work with me. I've assembled
Okay, I think that was the 45 seconds.
Yeah.
All right, great, thank you. Next question, Vera. And she's going to need to unmute again, right?
Yeah, I pushed it there.
How many seconds do I have to answer?
45.
Okay, so you heard me. I've got people already on board at every aspect of the voting process that are experts that are going to be helping us articulate our way forward.
All right. And with the remaining amount of the 45 seconds, the second question, engaging independents.
Yes, so I have a full plan on how to change our image from grand old party to greatest opportunity party. And it will include public service education announcements that help people re-educate people on who this party really is. We have a full plan to engage 18 to 28-year-olds. We are going to spend more time educating people on the topic of pro-life, because we need to change the culture of abortion. We need to change the hearts and minds of people so that they can understand. And this cannot happen through sound bites. This has to happen through education. We will be changing the culture of abortion and how people really view.
All right, I think that was the end of the time. Thank you, Vera. Up next, we have Lori Martinez. Lori, I'm asking you to unmute right now, and you should be able to unmute.
Okay, can you hear me okay, guys?
Yes.
All right, Morgan, thank you so much and your LD for putting on this event for us to get in front of your membership. Truly appreciate it. I live in Black Canyon City in Yavapai County, and I've lived here, gosh, over 20 years. I was in Phoenix a few years before that, but originally from Illinois. But I have 10 years of solid political experience with the Arizona Party. Currently, I am the AZ chairwoman for the Republican National Hispanic Assembly. This has enabled me to travel the state within the last year and really get to know our PCs, state committeemen, LD chairs, and county chairs across the state. So I've had some really good conversations as far as what is important to them. So with this last campaign, I will say the two topics that really pop up that are of a paramount concern of everyone is election integrity and unifying the party. So obviously with unifying the party, we've got to really look within. We consistently call each other names, whether it's a rhino establishment, Tea Party, Patriot Party, evangelical. We are fighting in our own front yards. And people are seeing that. That's why we are losing. We're losing our registered Republicans to becoming registered independents. And, you know, we're losing elections. So we really have to look at unifying our party in order to accomplish anything else. In this position, it's interesting how many people aren't aware across the state, PCs and SCs and people who are really true patriots understand, but the core voters across the state of Arizona, they don't realize that as a leader of the GOP party, that's what we are. We are here to lead and represent the party. And also we need to grow our base and get our candidates elected. So we can't do any of that, guys, together unless we unify our party. We've had several candidates give great stats as to the numbers. And we've got to unify. And that election integrity issue is important to everybody. But we have to make sure that we are electing core constitutional policy makers. These are the people who pass the laws. We are the voice for them. Party chair is the voice for you and also the rest of the voters across the state. So we've got to really pay attention to the election integrity issue, but the unifying issue. So a few other things I'd like to kind of talk about is we've got to educate our voters across the state on our core constitutional issues. I'll answer your second question because it ties into this area as far as people don't have a good understanding about our conservative agenda and how our agenda affects their daily lives. We're missing the boat in reaching out and educating all voters, whether they're independents, Democrats, or Republicans. We also have to focus my position on winning races, whether they're state, local, and who we are vouching for with our federal elections. And we've got to vet locally. I'm all about people from out of the state coming in and telling us who we should vote for and putting them on our ballots. But it's our state and it's our boundaries, and we've got to do a better job of vetting, whether it's at the top level of the executive committee, county levels, LDs, or precincts. But we've got to get people on the ballot that we believe in, that we trust, support, and we will vote for. This last election season was the first time I worked at the polls after 2020 and that fiasco of losing that race to, yes, fraud, because Donald J. Trump definitely carried Arizona, I decided I needed to work the polls and be there firsthand. But I will tell you, everyone, I was disappointed in the amount of people who did not vote for the first 4 names. So I am excited to run for this position. Like I said, I have 10 years of political background. I'm a successful business owner. I've had a lot of leadership positions within the state, and I'm looking forward to representing all of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, what are the top 2 specific things AZGOP members, not you as chair, but the members of the party you would lead, what can they do between next week after the vote for chair and the 2024 primaries to make Arizona elections more secure?
We have got to get them to contact, call, and meet in person the legislators. Those are the policy makers, and we've got to make them accountable. We've got to hound them with phone calls and personal meets and greets. And these people are available. One thing we're missing right now is that the executive committee and our current chair does not have relationships with those legislators. And those are the policy makers. We've got to build those relationships, but we've got to encourage our members to call and meet them so they can voice their opinions on voting election integrity laws. And I will tell you, they passed some great laws last year, but not with enough teeth. And it's going to be us to pressure them. Thank you.
Great, thank you. And how can the AZGOP best engage and persuade independents to vote Republican in 2024, even though you touched on that?
Yes, I'm going back to educating. I really am. One of my marketing plans is reaching out to different demographics within our state and speaking to them in a language that represents them. For instance, a simple connection between politics and economics. If you ask an independent or a Democrat, how was your life 4 years ago under Donald J. Trump's agenda compared to where we're at under Biden's agenda? You know, the inflation is out of control, pricing is out of control, and they have to understand where that connection is. And it's a difference in policy, a difference in agenda. So it's about educating independents and any voter who can become a Republican.
All right, and that was time. Thank you, Lori. Next up is Sheila Muehling. Sheila, I'm asking you to unmute yourself.
Yes,
Very
thank
good.
you.
You have the
Thank you,
floor.
Morgan. Thank you, LD4, for having us here tonight. It's been a long month, as all the candidates will tell you, and we've all talked about the issues that face Arizona. You know, it's funny because if you could see my desk, you see all these stacks of papers with all these written notes and on it. But let's go back to a few years ago. If you all read the Republican briefs, you'll see that over 10 years ago, it's the same issues that people argue about and post about. And one has an opinion on one, but you've got proxies, illegal ballots, resolutions, bylaws, elections, election machines. But so we run in circles and we make lots and lots of noise. And our voters are confused, and I think so are our volunteers. Volunteers, Steve Daniels says, and I hear what he says, and he's not totally wrong about doing the same thing over and over again. I've heard that cliche till I don't want to hear it anymore, and I'm sure you have too. But when people come to us as volunteers and they ask us to give them a job, sometimes we don't even get back to them. How many of you have that happen? When you raise your hand and you want to go to a training class, you get there and there's not appropriate people that are training. So you walk away and think, why did I waste my time tonight? You have people knock on the door of their neighbor's house, or they go to a party and they bring up something about the Republican Party, and people don't want to talk politics, but we do. And the first thing that we hear is, oh, well, you know, our votes don't count anyway, so why should we bother? Why should we go to the polls? Why should we do this? Why should we do that? I'm just leaving the party. I had 3 different people tell me this today. So and these are people who are actually PCs. So I think first and foremost, I want to see us come back together and talk. You're not going to always agree with me, but you're always going to know that what I tell you is what I really feel. Can you change my mind? You bet you can. You can do something. You give me an argument that is fair, and I may challenge you, but I'm going to listen to you, and I will always be transparent. So I think that to start, our new year, I'd like to see more training. I want to see volunteers with better tools. I want to get, I know Campaign Sidekick is a really a bad tool, but it is what we have. It is what feeds the GOP data center their information. We have a ton of very, very talented people in Maricopa County and in Arizona in general who have technical skills, who can write programs, who have been doing that. And are we ignoring that? To some degree, I think we are. I've heard again, there was a lady in South Mountain, and she's a PC, and she said, we had that baseline office, and all of a sudden it was open one day and closed the next. And they said, well, we didn't have much activity there. Isn't that kind of why they closed the office? And she goes, well, I was meeting people all the time. She goes, I turned at least 10 different people. It may be more. And she said to get them to vote Republican. We need offices where people can take and get information. We can do that. In the outer counties, we talk about Maricopa and all the things that Maricopa need. But we have outer counties too that need things. We have Indian communities that are begging for us to come and talk to them. And we have very few voters on the Indian communities. If we pay attention to their needs, perhaps we can win them over a little better. All of you have heard about all of the kidnappings on the reservations of women and children. Can you imagine if all of those, if the Indian reservations, if the people see us a presence there who say, let us help, what can we do? We in this party are compassionate, good people. We're God-fearing, we love our families, and we need to put aside the vitriol and talk about what we can do to improve our voter base. At least 61%, and I'll give another candidate credit for finding that statistic. She's not running for chair, so I'll give her credit. But the 61% of the independents left their ballots on the table at home. So when you look at that and you think we only needed 240 votes for Abe, 61%, there it was. Why did they do that? Are they giving up because they think that we are not fighting for them? Are we?
All right, I think that's the 5 minutes. Thank you. Here's the first question. As I've read, and this will be the last time I read it. What are the top 2 specific things AZGOP members, not you as chair, but the members of the party you would lead, what can they do between next week after the vote for chair and the 2024 primaries to make Arizona elections more secure?
I want them to get more active in their LDs. The first thing I want them to do is I want the chairman of the LDs to reach out to me at the GOP office, and I want them to, I'll help them raise money within their districts. It's mentioned that we need to get the state and the House in a supermajority so that we can turn Katie Hobbs' veto over. If we have money in our districts, then we will be able to do that. The second thing is the voter rolls. I'm working on a team of technical people with voter rolls, and we have to get them cleaned up. We all know that.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, moving on. How can the AZGOP best engage and persuade independents to vote Republican in 2024?
Talk to them. Just talk to them and stop calling them names. Stop telling them we don't need them. If they're not with us, they're against us. Stop telling them that they're rhinos. Stop telling them that they're, far right. Whatever name you want to come up with, start talking to the independents. I live in the middle of a lot of people that moved here from Seattle and California, and I almost died when I realized what it was. But I talk to them all the time, and you would be surprised how many people are ready to listen.
Thank you. All right, moving on to Christine, to the secretary race, and Christine Ong Cothran. Whoops, there we go. I'm asking you to unmute. And can we hear you?
Yes. Hi, good evening, everyone. Christine Ong Cothran here. I am running to be your
Yes.
AZGOP secretary. I am hitting 3 districts tonight alone, so happy to be with you all. To start was actually just came from LD8 as well. I believe that there's more to the AZGOP than just Maricopa County, and that's why I've been going all over our state. Just last week alone, I was in 4 different counties, spanning 5 days outside of Maricopa County. I think it's for that reason that Congressman Paul Gosar has lauded my hard work and my organizational skills for the role of secretary. Also, I've been watching the chat and I know that there are a lot of Carrie Lake supporters out there. And yes, she did win. I have been supported by Carrie Lake for my love of what I've done for the state and what I'm willing to do, and appreciate that endorsement. But most of all, I appreciate the endorsement of all the folks that have asked me to run, and have received the unanimous support of LD28 and their chairwoman, Lori Bango, who was previously in this race. But when she saw my name in the nomination, she said, you know what, I want you to be the one. So why am I the one to vote for on the 28th? A lot of people know me as being one of Trump's top volunteer fundraisers. Emphasis on the word volunteer. I'm a keep my head down and work kind of gal. I'm grassroots. I was given no lists. It's just a different version of grassroots, and I didn't care if it was $8 or $35,000. Every dollar mattered, and I accepted it as graciously as the next. We do need money in the machine, but election integrity does matter. So in 2020, just to touch on that briefly, I helped to recruit poll observers in Coconino County, where I reside part of the year. So I guess you might say I have 2, if you include Yavapai, which you drive through. 3 out of the 15 counties I traverse on a regular basis. In 2022, after what I had reported in Coconino, yes, not just Maricopa, but things happened in Coconino too, I decided to be a poll observer myself. And yes, at polling place 12774, Shadow Mountain High School, I was literally chasing people to the 75-foot line. All over again. It was 2020 all over again, for what happened with the tabulation machines and voter suppression. And so, yes, Arizona, we have problems. And that's why I'm willing to get involved in the toughest of times to hopefully see us to better times, helping to find within our party and the 31 flavors of Republicans, as I call it, common ground, helping to enhance communication. I have literally started a spreadsheet of strengths, is what I call it, for every conversation. And I've had many across the state, even with non-PCs, non-SCs, and just everyday people and their concerns.
All right, I think that's time. And just thank you very much, Christine. A reminder that all the other races other than chair are going to be 3 minutes per candidate. Next up is Michael Joyner. Michael, I've just asked you to unmute. You should be able to unmute yourself and begin.
Hi there. How is everybody this evening? My name is Michael Joyner, and I'm running for secretary, and I'm asking for your vote. I'm a native Arizonan. I was born and raised in Yuma, and graduated from high school there. And the reason I'm running for secretary is because I think I have the qualifications to do so. If you own a business or you've ever been in charge of hiring, you know that the first thing that you do when you start to interview someone is you look at their resume. I am qualified for this job. I have spent the last 2 years as the second vice chair for Maricopa County, and I was privileged to be the liaison to the clubs, to the Republican clubs in the county, where I was taking the message from the political side to the club side and creating relationships there. I also served as the data chairman for the county, along with the help of some very brilliant people, where we actually went out and trained 380 PCs how to use Campaign Sidekick and how to use GOP Data Center. About beginning of this year, Sidekick was taken over by Drew Sexton, and we continued to utilize GOP Data Center. I am painfully aware of the incompetencies of those software. So that is a huge passion of mine. I'm hoping that we will either replace it or get something that's much better and serves the PCs more. I also served as a member at large, still have that position for the GOP, which allowed me to travel around the state. I attended every state meeting. And so if you're the county chairman and we're all in attendance there along with the other members at large. I'm very proud of the fact that I was responsible for organizing 2 deputy registrar classes where we actually signed up and got trained 52 new deputy registers because I was told that only the Democrats worked in that capacity. So now we have a good group of Republicans doing that job. So this race should be about the resume. This job is not sexy. It's not, I don't know how to make it sound fun. It's not about giving parties. It's about working. And I commit to support the platform of our new chairman, whomever you choose to elect. The data is my passion and getting better data for our PCs. But also I'm very interested in the independent race. Sheila Muelling stole my statistics, so thank you for the credit for that. But 61% of the independents did not return their ballots. And that is a shocking statistic since we were really depending on them to get us over the winning line of winning. My other involvements in.
Is that time, Carl?
Yes, that's 3 minutes.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Michael. Moving on, our next person is, it's for treasurer race now, Pam Kirby. I'm asking you to unmute, Pam. And you're up.
Hi, okay, good evening, everyone. Pam Kirby, I'm running for treasurer of the state party. And if the secretary race isn't sexy, well, the treasurer is even less sexy. I have lived in Arizona for 28 years. 20 of those in what is now LD4. So thank you guys for having me tonight. I'm an empty nester and I am unapologetically America first. My grassroots experience speaks for itself. I've been a precinct committeeman for almost 15 years, most of that time as a state committeeman. I was on the Latinos for Trump Advisory Board as one of 2 board members representing Arizona. I have been on the Trump Finance Committee, AZGOP First Vice Chair, where I launched the school board boot camp. And I'm wrapping up a stint as executive director for the state party. I resigned effective January 28th, which is just in a few days. And so what that means is that I will be retired on the 29th and I will have plenty of time to put towards this job. I am an MBA. I'm a CPA in Texas and Arizona. I have a certificate in forensic accounting, and I have a prior life as an internal auditor and an external auditor. I have experience managing budgets of all different sizes with different size teams. With city council, it was a $20 million budget. With school board, it was a $200 million budget. And in the private sector, I was a finance executive at a Fortune 500 company for 11 years, and we managed a $610 million budget. And of those 11 years, we were the highest performing team in this country, meeting our profit goals 8 of those 11 years, 8 years in a row. So, part of the role of the treasurer is to build budgets, and I clearly have experience doing that. But what I also have experience is collaborating with others to build those budgets so that they take ownership in them. And furthermore, I have experience in presenting those budgets with clarity and transparency so that people can understand what's happening in the state party. I will support whomever you guys elect or we elect as the chairman. One thing you should know is that at the state party, we don't have a petty cash fund. We have every dollar that goes out of the state party requires the electronic approval of both the chairman and the treasurer. So while I will be a team player, I'm not a go along to get along person. So if I see invoices that I have questions on, I won't approve them and then complain about them months later. We'll have a conversation in a professional manner with all of the facts to try to achieve and rectify the situation together. So why am I running? I'm a donor of the party. I volunteered for the party. I've had the fortune to work for the party. I care about the state party. And I have history that I can bring to the table to what will otherwise be a rather young executive board. And
That's 3 minutes.
I was
That's
muted.
better.
Sorry about that. Thank you, Pam. We're moving on now to Elijah Norton. Elijah is on the screen. I'm asking him to unmute now. He's on as one of his campaign members, Jeff Caldwell, but go ahead, Elijah.
Yes, hello, working out some technology issues. My name is Elijah Norton. I'm running to be the next treasurer of the Arizona Republican Party. Just a little bit about me. I started a business when I was just 21 years old, a dream and $1,000. Today, my company generates over $120 million a year in revenue and operates across the United States, the European Union, Canada, and Chile. I am by far the most qualified person for this position. As the owner of an insurance company, we are required by law in multiple states as well as internationally to submit audited financial statements every year to different state regulators. So I have extreme amounts of experience in finance and audits. I also manage over 30 bank accounts, $120 million a year in deposits and $110 million a year in expenditures. And I also currency. So very qualified from an accounting and finance standpoint. As I've traveled across the state, I have heard from donors, from PCs and state committeemen and other stakeholders of the party that there is a severe lack of trust in the Arizona Republican Party. Most recently, there have been some information that's come out that $400,000 was wasted on an election night party, $100,000 was wasted on an election night bus, $2,000 was wasted on makeup. Those expenditures, in my opinion, are wasteful, and we should be using our money and our resources to ensure that we are getting our message out for our candidates. And if, for example, $50,000 of that $400,000 excessive expenditure would have gone towards voter contact in the attorney general's race, I believe Abe Hamaday still would have been able to outrun all the fraud and issues and still overcome the 280 vote delta, and we'd be having a Republican attorney general. We need to elect somebody who cares about the party and who cares about the financial accountability and transparency. And that's my motto: accountability and transparency. So if I'm elected, that's my number one thing. I plan on having audited financial statements. Last time we had our financials audited was in 2016. To me, that is absolutely unacceptable. I think that we need to have an audit every year. Our bylaws require an audit once every 2 years, and that has now been failed for almost 6 years. So totally unacceptable, and that will change under my leadership if I'm elected your treasurer. I believe if we can restore donor confidence, we can attract donations, get our message out, and invest in voter contact, growing our PCs, not just here in Maricopa and Pima County, but in every corner of the state. And finally, the treasurer is a member of the executive board. If I'm elected, I plan on establishing with the rest of the members of the board, working with the chair, whoever you elect, to establish an election integrity task force. I want to fire each and every one of the Maricopa County Board of Supervisors. I think we can all agree the 2022 election should be the end of the line for them as far as their political careers are concerned. And we need to work together to elect the best of the best candidates up and down the ballot. We also need to be strategic with our races. There are certain LDs where the party needs to work with the county and the LD to be strategic when we have to run a single shot candidate, for example. So for me, those are very important issues. Again, if you like the way the party's gone in the last 2 years, please don't vote for me. But if you want change and you want fresh, proven leadership and someone to bring a business perspective to bring needed change.
And that's it. Elijah, thank you. Those are the treasurer candidates. Moving on to Sergeant at Arms. First one up is Peter. I might mispronounce your name, Peter Anello, and I'm asking you to unmute now.
Well, thank you, Morgan and LD4 for having me here tonight. I appreciate that. And in 2020, I became so upset at the Republican Party for not supporting President Trump and for not doing anything about the fraud and stolen election that I tore up my Republican card and registered as an independent. I found out about a Republican Club meeting in my community, and they were having candidates in, and I wanted to hear what they had to say. After the meeting, I went to the precinct captain and I said, hey, I want to get involved. And he told me, no, you can't. And I said, why? He said, you're not a Republican. So I tore up my independent card and registered as a Republican. I became a PC and did what PCs are supposed to do. I collected signatures for candidates that support America First policies. I made phone calls, filled out postcards, called and emailed my legislators, went door to door. I worked the polls both in the primary and in the general. I am a combat veteran with 14 years in the Army. I did a tour in Iraq. I took an oath to defend my country against all enemies, domestic and foreign, and that oath has not expired. Right now, I believe that we have more domestic enemies than foreign. In our governor's office, in the White House, in Congress, the media, Maricopa County Board of Supervisors, and the list goes on and on and on. It's too long for me to name. I'm still serving my country. I am in the American Legion, Post 129 in Queen Creek. I serve as their adjutant and their chaplain. According to our bylaws, the duties of the Sergeant of Arms is to attend all state committee meetings and maintain order under the chairman's direction. I am well qualified to fulfill these duties. As a former soldier, I know how to take orders and I know how to give them. My name is Peter Anello, and I appreciate your vote.
Thank you, Peter. All right, and next candidate for Sergeant at Arms, Gail Golick. And Gail, please unmute.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for this really wonderful evening. I really like it, the format tonight, so I appreciate it. And thank you, everybody who has joined tonight. Thank you for your service. You know, we're all here because we care and we love America, and we are in it to save America. So I want to, you know, come in to this position in Sergeant at Arms as more of a unifier. I believe in law and order. I do believe in truth and justice, and I have been working tirelessly on that for many years now, actually. But I also know that we want more joy and we want more peace, and we need our constitutional freedoms preserved. And I'm going to strive for that as well. I've been a PC in LD, what was formerly LD23. So a lot of you guys already know me. You already know that I ran for Maricopa County Board of Supervisors. But I've been a PC for over 6 years now, and this is my first role as state committee woman. I just even want to take my time to let you know that I'm just so thankful for all of your support everywhere, you know, throughout this community, throughout the state. I can't even tell you the blessings it's been to work on really protecting our elections. I was endorsed by Mr. Mike Lindell. Disputedly, I was endorsed by President Trump on the steps of Mar-a-Lago. And I ran a good run against the machines. Many think that I won. I don't know, because we never, that bottom line is we can never tell. There's no way you can tell because there's no chain of custody, my friends. There's just no chain of custody. All right. That was admitted under oath. And we just need to start talking about that stuff. We must enforce our laws on the books. That includes everything, whether it's the rules that are obviously that are happening within the meeting and outside, and we have to all work together on truly making a difference in the laws. Currently, I've been engaging in a lot of lawfare against the state and the Maricopa County. I even actually sued Runbeck and Dominion. Yeah, and that was when I was trying to stop the certification. Listen, there's nobody that's gonna, and here's the other thing. I am not afraid to go against grassroots. I'm not afraid to go against establishment. I'm not afraid to be a voice and to be in the, to just talk to the people, because this is just what I have been doing, right? I fell into this role. I've been working, before this, I was actually involved in politics in Illinois. I used to, I help and advocate for those that are suffering with substance use disorders and mental health, and serious mental illness.
Okay, and that's it. Thank you very much, Gail. The next candidate should be Penny Pugh. I haven't seen Penny in the list of participants, and I put out a request for her to identify herself in the chat several minutes ago and haven't heard any response. I'm going to go ahead and say the same. If you are attending, Janet Moore and Alan Skillicorn, please identify yourself in the chat so I can see if your screen name doesn't match who you are or who I expect to see. Given that I'm not seeing anything from Penny, we're going to move on to the member at large positions, starting with Yvonne Cahill.
Janet's there.
Whoops, I'm sorry, what?
There's Janet. She says,
Okay, good. Thank you,
I asked
Janet.
her to unmute.
All right. Very good. Thank you, Janet. And I will go ahead and ask Yvonne to unmute and address us for 3 minutes. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for taking time on your night to be with us all. So the member at large position, I've done this both for the MCRC and also for the AZGOP. It's basically a liaison position between the AZGOP and the people that you represent in the legislative district. There's usually 3 that are in one congressional district. And what I've done in the past, we've all kind of decided who would work in which legislative district. And it, you know, geography wise, that seems to be the best way to do it. I think it's really important that who's ever elected to this position has the capability to be open and to be positive and to be building the party, not tearing it down and criticizing it. You need somebody that can work with your legislators and really all work together for the betterment of the party, because our whole idea is to win elections. So my top 3 priorities are to win elections, and win elections. I was the bylaws chairman for the last 3 years. We got finally got down to 3 proxies at the state level. And our current LD has 0 proxies in it. So, excuse me, I also wrote the bylaw to protect the funds from the sale of the building on 24th Street. So whoever takes over for chairman will have a nice bank account of $790,000, 882 and 61 cents to use on a new building. I've been doing grassroots for over 15 years, a state committeeman. I was twice elected to represent the state at the RNC convention. I helped Joseph Chaplet get elected to the Arizona House of Representatives, and also Alex Colliden. Joseph now has an Arizona Freedom Caucus that he's working on, and that's already gone out to 17 other states. So that's why it's important to be able to work well with your legislators. So how do we win? Well, it involves more than just election integrity. Last year, I was a plaintiff in a lawsuit against Katie Hobbs, a 54-page lawsuit, and I sued her over mainly 3 things. It was the use of the drop boxes, the illegal changes to the voter procedure manual, and I also asked if early voting was constitutional in Arizona. So, excuse me, I got kicked out of 2 courts, and then Mark Brnovich picked it up, and he unfortunately was told by the judge it was too close to the election to make the decision. So we really need to, you know, we can focus all we want on election integrity, but at the end of the day, we have to be smarter. We have to work smarter. While we were at Trump rallies, the Democrats were out harvesting ballots. I mean, that's basically it. They were going door to door. They were figuring out who had the ballot, who hadn't turned them in. They were getting help, getting them signed. And we just have to work smarter. So that's one of the things we have to do. I think we.
All right, and that's it. Yvonne, thank you so much. And yeah, Carl, you're going to be a popular guy.
I know. It's not enjoying this. The only one I did enjoy was muting Dan. All right.
Sorry. Sorry for the aside there. Okay. So Yvonne, thank you. Moving on, next is Marissa Hamilton. Marissa, I'm asking you to unmute. And when you're ready, start.
All right. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you so much for having me on and for holding this forum. I greatly appreciate it. My name is Marissa Hamilton. I'm running for a member at large for CD1. CD1 is an extremely important district because we only won it by about 3,000 votes for the CD1 race. And so it's a very, very close district. And we have a lot of opportunity in our swing districts of LD2 and LD4. I reside in LD2. And I worked on getting candidates elected in both of the districts because both of them are just so critical to us. I've worked extensively also on election integrity. I'm working right now on Senator Kelly Townsend's subpoena. I'll be releasing some more information from that soon. But just a couple of key things that I can tell you right now that we're discovering through that is one, when Maricopa County said that everyone that had the chance to vote could vote, that was a lie. We already have evidence in the subpoena that there was a voting center that not only voters, but also the poll workers reported that they were not allowing people to vote. So that's very concerning. We'll be doing some more research on that before we release the information. And we also found that Maricopa County, against our laws, set aside the actual ballot reports, which is like the voting center reports. They're called official ballot reports in our EPM. And they only reconciled against basically their own data. And so I went ahead and with the help of our team and Jeff Caldwell specifically, we reconciled the ballot reports against the actual data from Maricopa County and their reconciliation point reports. And we found that a little over 17,000, it was actually just a little bit over the amount of votes that Carrie Lake lost by, is the amount of ballots that are unaccounted for on the ballot reports, but Maricopa County counted those votes. When I take the perfect ballot reports and only include those, there's still well over 5,000 votes, ballots that were counted that the poll workers do not show exist on their documentation. And so this is the problem that you have when you don't have proper chain of custody, when you ignore the laws that are set on chain of custody, because now it throws, it completely creates a distrust in the outcome of the election as reported by the county. And that's in addition to all the other issues we have. So this is something I will continue to work on. I've worked on since 2018. We worked, our group AZAZ before it was established, worked on deceased voters and got an indictment of voter fraud. From that, we also helped to kill Katie Howe's election procedures manual. So we have a lot of work on election integrity happening. We have to keep working on it. It's something that we need to really focus on in the district. But
All right, sorry, Marissa, that's the 3 minutes. Thank you. And we're moving on now to Janet Moore. Janet, I'm seeing you as, where'd you go? Janet on our list. Did she just disappear?
I asked her to unmute.
Okay, there we go. Janet, are you there?
Here.
You need to unmute.
Hi, everybody. My name's Janet Moore, and I have been a successful real estate broker for 38 years, which is 38 years of bringing people together. I am definitely a people person. I was on the Government Affairs Committee for the Scottsdale Area Association of Realtors for about 11 years, and then the association turned woke, and I was kicked off. I found out later that Yvonne was kicked off the same board as well, so we kind of laughed about that because we're kind of alike in that way. I then became a PC. Some of you may know Shirley Cordasco. She was a PC. She was the one that kind of got me introduced to it. I'm in the Cave Creek precinct. When I started, there were only 4 precinct committeemen. I was actually in LD, whatever it was, 23, but it wasn't 23 before, and then they redistricted us to LD1. And in the first year, I filled up the other 10 seats of precinct committeemen, and then I became captain. And I've enjoyed this long time since 2011 of being on precinct committeemen. I did fundraise. I did ballot chase. I have also contributed to some of the other people. I'm really in this though for my grandkids, and I'm just so sick of seeing what's going on. I feel that this is a good position for me to hold. I'm the 7th generation, 7th descendant of a man that was in the Revolutionary War and fought alongside George Washington, and was there when Cornwallis surrendered. And I don't want to be the generation that my grandkids talk about that lost it all. I think it's we're in a really bad position. We're really fighting evil. And I just feel that I need to step up more to do what I can to win this next election. Every election is so important, but it just keeps getting harder and harder. We know that they're cheating and they're stealing the votes. We just have to be smarter. And I do have some ideas that Yvonne and I have already talked to about some things like what we think this position can do. So I hope that you think of me when you go to vote. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Janet. All right, so I'm just going to make a last call. We had 2 other RSVPs that we have not heard from, but I have put the call out on the meeting chat and have not heard any feedback that they're here. It's Penny Pugh and Alan Skillicorn. If you are here, we'll give you just a moment to identify yourselves in the meeting chat. Otherwise, we tonight have heard from all the candidates that save those 2. And that is a total of, what did we get? 15 out of the total 20 for all of the positions. So thank you all candidates. Thank you all participants of the call, and seeing no one dashing to the chat, I will call this to a conclusion. You agree, Carl?
Yeah, great job.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a great evening.